Good evening. Good evening. Hey, Dwayne, good evening. It's been a week. It has been a week. But how are you? Before we dive into the fun of the world. I've been avoiding news this week. Well, and in many ways I have as well. I mean, I catch sporadic things either at work through one of the feeds that I have, or I pulled back. Hey, Nick, what's going on, brother? I pulled back a little bit on the YouTube channels that I typically follow, primarily because, let's be honest, I want to enjoy a little bit of something, and the Tour de France is the thing. And this week, I've got the whatever. I either watch it live, or depending on when I have to stop for work, I'll go back and watch the rest of it on replay. So I've been focusing a lot on the tour, and it's been a great tour so far. It really has. I'm good. I'm trying to pre-mix paints for some bigger projects, working on a bat wing. Oh, well, funny enough, guess what I'm working on tonight, Dwayne? I'm going to work on this myself tonight. See that area right there? I'm going to try to expand that a little bit and work on it on this side too, just to give it a little bit more cohesiveness. And you mentioned mixed paints. Here we go. Kalispera. What's going on, Charles? Welcome. Yeah. So I am going to brush some shit off of here. What the fuck is that? That's special. Well, something seems to have gotten splattered on here. I'm assuming something got splattered on the propeller by the looks of things. I can try to scrape it off. Back at work. What's the starting topic of the night? What should it be, Nick? You tell me. I mean, what's funny is, a couple days ago when we were doing the talk about work, with Charles kind of kicking it off, and then the rest of us kind of kicking in the insurance shit and everything like that. Just like a little edge of yellow to give a source to the bat signal. Yeah, it's actually all coming down to that point. And Nick's suggestion of just doing a little dot of yellow to be the light right there. That could be a reflection off of something, I suppose, even though that thing does look, what the fuck happened there? Something actually hit this thing. Maybe not. I'm going to get glasses on it and see what's going on. Oh, I know. Hell hath no fury like a Greek man who hears a person mispronounce gyro. Hey, I'll order one of them gyros. Oh, them's fighting words. Telling you. Today was a brutal day at work. And in just that, I don't know. This will lead into some level of tirade, I'm sure. I said there's been a lot of stuff that goes on at home. There's a lot of stuff that goes on at work. And I literally feel a level of exhaustion like I've never felt before. And that's completely based on depression. What's rather hilarious about all of this stuff is that I don't feel the angst of politics. I feel the angst of my personal life and my work life just blowing shit up. I was correct, swiftly and promptly, but also warned to never say it that way again. Never. It's called a ro, gyro. You call it a gyro, you should be promptly tossed out of the restaurant. So, there's, like I said, there's just a lot of crazy shit that's going on in my life, and the frustration now is, in some ways, it's a lot of it's economics, right? My fear of what's going to happen with the current regime and the policies that they're creating, I'm feeling the stress of that if something should happen, my family and I right now, for the first time in probably, I would say, a good decade and a half, are finally in a place financially where we have a little sort of the light at the end of the tunnel. We actually feel in a place where we've made some moves recently which have helped us out significantly financially. And that doesn't mean I've made a lot of money. All it means is I'm in a better place, and I don't have as much of a debt load. So I'm happy about that. But the downside is kind of like we were talking about with insurance and with pay and everything like that. You've put yourself in a financially better place, and suddenly it's the fuck did that bill come from? How did that get more expensive? My fear next year of my insurance skyrocketing because of the shit that's happening, whether it's legit or not, it's the policies that have been put in place right now in regards to healthcare are going to impact all of us in some way. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I don't think I'm going to be. And granted, I pay for my health insurance, but my health insurance is going to go up because somebody has to pay for the bill for people who can't afford shit. And I'm okay for paying the bill for people who can't afford shit, as long as it's like, that's kind of the reason why we have Medicaid, Medicare, and all this other stuff. I'm fine with all that. In fact, I support that rather than some of the other policies that we put in place for shit that we have to pay for. The stupidity is that because of these what's going to end up being these cuts, we're going to be impacted so badly with our health insurance that it is going to increase for everybody else, because now suddenly the private sector is going to have to somehow pick up some of that slack, because the hospitals are going to have to increase their costs because they're having to eat some stuff. Well, we have to make it up somehow, or they're going to close their doors. We've already started seeing some of that happening. Different insurance, but just had the adjusters out today for the water damage that happened while I was on a vacation a month ago. How bad was it, Nick? I'm hoping, first of all, you have homeowners, and I'm assuming you needed flood insurance, which is another fucking scam. Hey, you can have homeowners insurance. Oh, but it doesn't cover water damage. I live in a heavily watered area. Yeah, but you have to have that. So you get your water damage. Oh, but you don't have other types of insurance. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Man, I swear to God, these companies want nothing more. We talked about it a few days ago, right? It's an extortion racket is what it is. It's a fucking extortion racket. Anyway, let's get these glasses on. And the goal is to not damage this plane. Not damage it, so that I don't have to replace a gun sight. That's kind of the goal. I'm just going to encircle it a little bit just to see how it looks. Frankly, I don't really care. If somebody says, so what is that supposed to be? Water. Why is it dark gray? I don't know idea because I decided that's what I wanted it to be. I am going to put in, after this stuff dries, I will put in some like little, what do they call the white caps or something like that. I don't know. I'll find out in a few days if it's worth the cost of my deductible or if I should just fix it. But you're still paying for the insurance. But you have to make that decision. What a load of horseshit. What a fucking load of horseshit. Not too bad. Not too bad. Telling you. You know, there's I've never had a problem with adulting. However, it is getting to the point where adulting is getting it's where's the fun? You know, unless you're making like, I don't know, 250, 300, $400,000, where's the fun? In terms of fraud all around, very few are actually benefiting. If you're talking about very few, you're talking about people. Yes, I agree. Look, first of all, I don't think that what that kid did in killing the head of that health insurance company is right. I think that's criminal. And if if he did it, if he's been found guilty, you deserve all the pain and everything you get. I understand the message that you're trying to say. You executed it poorly on it, right? But we're getting to the point where people's frustrations are getting so great with these insurance companies. Like I said, at what point does it kind of just it's like if you're there to make profit, then you're in the wrong fucking business. I'm really not like adulting these days. Yeah, totally in agreement. I used to like it at one point. But a lot of that seems to have changed. We've had our moment the other of help. I need an adult. Fuck. I'm the adult. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I've said this before. I miss my dad. I think my dad had a great, he's imperfect man, but he had a great view of the world in his experience. And I miss being able to ask him what I can still consider to be adult questions. Dad, you knew about this, right? Even though now I'm almost 60 years old. So I'm at a point where I should know some of the answers to some of these questions, right? And I feel like I don't have the answers. Like, why are we in this place that we're in? Why is it that, Dad, how much did you have to pay for insurance at some point? Or when you went to see a doctor, how much did it cost you? Or when you had to get your work done on your teeth or whatever it was, And now it just feels like, I feel like, is this just the way it is? And I'd like to think that this adulting thing, no, this is not the way it is, right? This is not the way it's supposed to be. Being an adult shouldn't be the misery of how am I going to pay for my kids' college, or how am I going to pay for, for younger kids? How am I going to pay for their daycare, or how am I going to, pay for their school supplies or what have you? Never mind that what a college tuition now is. How much is tuition? Jesus Christ. $50,000-$60,000 plus room and board. I mentioned this before. When I went to Boston University, it cost $15,000. University 40 years ago. Okay, $15,000. It's impossible. My parents were able to. I got scholarships, loans. not much, surprisingly. And my parents put the rest of it on the credit card. Took them a number of years to pay it off, but they paid it off, right? We couldn't do that today. There's no fucking way we could do that today. Stupid capitalist, Beckett Mariner. Yeah, 100% stupid capitalist. I love Beckett Mariner. Give me a second, guys. Yeah, we're going to go in a little bit deep here. But at some point, this all has to, hey, Manny, what's going on, brother? All of this is going to have to change. You know, I think our priorities in our country right now are so absolutely, I honestly, I don't know. I was listening to, and again, I'm cutting back, but it's not like I'm not listening to stuff. I was listening to something on an interview this morning with Brian Tyler Cohen, and he mentioned in the interviewer he was talking to, it's like, you know, where the Democrats have lost their way. A lot of it is that they've completely taken their eyes off the prize. And I totally agree. It's like you guys are focusing on so many of the wrong fucking issues. Go back to the bread and butter issues. In fact, they were talking to um, I guess I guess he used to be a Republican pollster who worked with the Republican Party. He's a Latino, and he's got his finger on the pulse on what's going on with Latino. He's not part of the Lincoln Project, et cetera. And he's like, the reason why Latinos swing so wildly is because as soon as somebody talks positively about economics, they vote in a large group in that direction because they're very much interested in bread and butter personal economic issues, right? Mike Madrid, was that who was on? I forget his name, but I believe that is correct. Thank you, Peter. Good evening, by the way, Peter. So great interview with him, and he said this is the thing that really impacts a lot of us. It's you know we have all of these social issues, and don't get me wrong, I'm not belittling social issues. You know, I'm very much I believe in abortion rights, I believe in LGBTQ rights, I believe in all of that stuff. But when we start making that the focus, then you're dealing with issues that don't impact people on a day-to-day basis. How am I going to afford my insurance? How am I going to afford to pay for my kids' college? How am I going to pay for a fucking grocery bill? How am I going to be able to put some money aside so when I retire, I've got something, right? Those are the issues that we need to start focusing on. And the Democrats, God knows, they went the wrong fucking way. So, having said all that, don't get me wrong, the Republicans have never been in that direction. What can we do to help out trickle down economics? But if you spin the message correctly, excuse me a second, you know, people buy into it. You know, and this is what I've always said about Trump. You can vilify Trump as much as you want, but I will say one thing, boy, he could sell. What's the proverbial statement? He could sell snow to an Eskimo. Oh yeah, he could absolutely, and not just like a little of it, like a ton of it. Everyone's going to be the center right. It's dumb, but that's the big donors are chasing the wrong dollars. 100%. Couldn't agree more. Retire. I'm retired every day after work. Oh yeah, dude, tired, exhausted. In fact, this is the most animated I've been today. I'm literally meeting with my boss today, and I think I'm like half of the time I'm falling asleep. Both sides like making issues that were not big issues, bigger issues to split both sides. Yeah. In fact, Charles, recommendation, read The Power Worshippers, which is how the far right Christian nationalists, guys like Jerry Falwell, kind of did that and started moving away from the day-to-day important issues and making it more about the softer issues, the ones that kind of grab at our heart rather than at other more important things like our brains or our wallets. But don't get me wrong, I'm not cutting the Democrats any slack here either. You know, they decided they want to start saddling up to, all these companies that are really, really big into all the softer issues and are left leaning until they decide to swing to the far right. And now suddenly the Democrats are like, fuck, we've lost everything. But I still think I'm still feeling optimistic. I think and I keep talking about him. I think this is the third week I'm talking about him. I think Zohan Mamdani being nominated for the Democratic ticket in New York, I think is a very strong thing. And the comment that I heard earlier about that is it's because he focused on the economic issues. What are people mostly concerned about? Economic issues. Okay, if that's what they're focusing on, let's focus on those issues. So when he's talking about how do we improve housing costs for people in the city of New York, how do we improve, people being able to afford stuff? That's how he got in where he did. So, like I said, you might not like whatever other politics he has, but that's the reason for his success. It's all good, which is why I've told you before. I consider myself the Patriot Party. I vote where I think the best benefit. Charles, I'm gonna challenge you on one thought. I agree with you 100% in that, but I would also say, don't just think about what's going to benefit, the patriotism of our country. Focus on what's going to help you, your neighbors, your greater community in getting better. And that's not always the patriotic issues, because unfortunately, the patriotic issues have become things like transgender issues in sports and the immigration thing, which are 100% not the right issues that we need to be focusing on. If only Dems fought Republicans as much as they do. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes, that's what I meant by that. Okay, then we're on the same page, Charles. Yeah. You know what? You want to sit there and go after immigrants? That's absolutely stupid. Economically, that's stupid for our country, and it's not doing any good to anybody. In fact, you're causing more pain by doing that. Instead, how are we going to legitimately, okay, you take people out of hospitality, out of construction, out of the fields. Okay, who are you replacing them with? So you're basically screwing Americans. Food costs are going to go up. Construction costs are going to go up. All this stuff, because what are you going to be doing? Paying people at a higher rate, or how are you going to find labor? So now your costs have to go up. That's great. How does that help, everyday Americans? It doesn't. In fact, it fucks Americans when we do that. So you want to go after, what they, God, it's not even illegal immigrants. It's just going after immigrants, basically. Farms. How are we going to eat if they are not working? Exactly. That's exactly the point. How are we going to eat? How are we going to eat if farmers don't have the ability to pick their crops? So we focus on those issues. We focus on these going after Harvard University. We focus on going after what is it? What's the other bullshit? Going after James Comey and it's like, are you for fucking real? And frankly, if the Democrats decide to bite on all that stuff, it's like, move on, go back to the economic issues. Transgender, people in sports. Yep, that's great. We're for people being in there. Let's get back into the economic issues. Oh God, that Epstein thing. Once again, if the Epstein thing doesn't put a final nail in the coffin of okay, and I'm going to deviate a little bit because I feel like I have to at least one time during the show go after the current regime. Has that motherfucker ever been truthful about everything? I can solve the Ukraine war in one day. I know everybody. How many times did he repeat that on the campaign trail? Only then to turn around. Now you're elected. Oh, it's difficult. It's too difficult to solve. Great. Hey, Julius. Good evening, my friend. How are you? One more day until the weekend. I hope you all have a great weekend. Julius, you too, brother. Julius, you're retired now. I'm hoping you don't have to do anything that's work related. Let's see, what else did he make a promise on? The whole tips thing. Yeah, up to $25,000, which means basically people who make over $25,000 You're not going to get your tax relief on tips. The Epstein thing. Oh yeah, we're going to release it. Well, we might not release it. Why is everybody harping on the whole Epstein thing? Man, I got to tell you, I will say one thing that I'm really happy about with all that. There's nothing that makes me feel happier than watching guys like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino squirm like motherfuckers. Nothing. Hey, weren't you the guys who were sitting there and kind of like telling everybody how effed up all that was? Weren't you the guys who are going up there? Oh, I know there's stuff. I've heard from people. Oh, when are they going to release that stuff? Yeah, there's nothing there. Well, that's an interesting change of tune. So, were you right the first time or were you right the second time? And if you were right the second time, then why were you so fucking wrong the first? Yes, I'm retired and loving it. I'm very happy I was able to retire at a youngerish age. Julius, God bless, man. I'm serious. I wish I was in that camp. 7 years to go. I'm counting down the days. Before I forget, Julius, how's the kitchen? I believe the kitchen remodel is, if not done, very, very close to being done. All right. Yeah, I'm not liking that. I got to get a little more jaggediness here. Sorry. It's not jaggedy enough. I thought it was. So, I've I have a very hard time. You have to grow out the backsplash. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, very happy for you, Julius. That sounds great, man. I've said this before. I can deal with a lot of stuff. Like I can deal with disagreements in politics as long as you're coming at me from a truthful perspective. If you're lying to me and you are blatantly lying to me and you're trying to pass it off as truth, I have a very hard time with that. Hey, Julius, I have a very, very hard time with that. And I think right now, granted, you guys know where I'm coming from politically, but I think even if somebody closed their eyes and just cleared out and just said, let me open my eyes again and look at a situation, it is hard to believe that what we currently have in power isn't lying to our faces. I'll never retire, just die sooner than later. Charles, hopefully not, brother. There's some potentially positive, good stuff coming your way, right? Come on, be optimistic. I'm praying for you every night. And I know Nick's also in the potential, running for something good too, which is I'm hoping that's still on the cards for you, Nick. Exactly, Charles. Death will be the retirement. Oh God, it pains me to think that that's how we think. I'm gonna retire when I die. Oh, my God. Does anybody not think that there's something significant? And I know that we're joking about it, but that young people actually think that, it's painful to hear. It is still in the works. That I'm glad to hear that. But it's painful to hear that young people actually believe. And I know that, by the way, the motherfucker in office has also said, maybe we should have higher, maybe we should have retirements at a later age. That's coming from you? From all your millionaire fuckholes? No. Oh yeah, people should be retiring at a later age now. Why don't we give people enough earning capacity so that they can get to a comfortable retirement age, have a little bit of money in the pocket, and be able to, I don't know, enjoy the last number of years of their lives? Not holding my breath. Charles, come on, I'm holding the breath. I'm holding my breath for you, brother. Give me a second, guys. I'm gonna just do a little bit more of a roughness to this, which I didn't do. I did on the other side, but not on here. I'm just gonna stipple a little bit more here. The concept of unless you either hit the lottery or are born with a silver spoon in your mouth, that you cannot retire at a young age, doesn't make sense. I mean, let's put it this way. Okay, I'm going to go on a wait. We're supposed to be joking. Comfort doesn't guarantee labor force. Comfort doesn't guarantee labor force. Also heard that the RVA crew is coming up to pack on. Are they? Ooh, well, that's some good news. That is some excellent news. How many from the RVA? And Dwayne, can you do me a favor, clarify a little bit about what you mean by comfort doesn't guarantee labor force? Wait, we're supposed to be joking. You know what? I would hope that people are joking about it. I'm going to toss this out. I think that there are some, I used to see the other side of this thing, but I guess I'm getting to the point now where I think the concept of a right, like you are owed a minimum something in life. I think in a democracy like ours, if we're talking about here in the US, I think there are things that we are owed. Okay? We are owed a fair wage. We are owed health coverage that or some kind of health care that allows us to live as within reason as best as we possibly can. We are owed a ability to retire, right? To enjoy the last number of years, not struggling to make money. We are owed things like an education. We are owed having a house, and I'm sure that there are, libertarians or, ultra capitalists out there who are like, no, that's not the way it works. That's communist talk. It's not communist talk. Why would that be an unfair thing to say to somebody? It's like, why is it not a good thing to be able to have the ability to afford stuff? Oh, I got the house. Yeah. Also heard that. Yeah. Oh, I know you got the house. And look, I bought my house. I'll be honest. I bought my house at the worst possible time. I bought it in 2006 at the height, right before the economy took a dive. And I paid much more than I should have for this house. But at that point, that's kind of the way things were. I've never complained about that. I've never said, fuck, I've overpaid. I've always said, I'm thankful that I was able to buy a house at that time. And it's hurting because our mortgage was not a small one, right? But I made that decision, and I'm thankful for that decision to be able to have done that. I'm trying to think now, will my children have that ability? Will my daughter, who's living with us right now, and I no problem with her being here. I love my daughter to death, but at some point, will she have the freedom to be able to go out and buy her own house? Nick, will your kids be able, depending on what they follow for a career path, but either way, whatever they choose to do, will they be able to own a house? Charles, will your kids? Dwayne, will your kids? Who else we got here? I think that's like the big crew that's been kind of chipping in here. Well, whoever else, are your kids going to be able to? Only thing I own is my vehicle because it didn't cost hardly anything. Oh, military ruined my credit, so I can't buy shit. That blows. Since 2008, we've entered the new age of the robber baron, where rights have done nothing but erode since the time CEOs have swollen pay. Yep. Houses will no longer be affordable in 15 years. Yeah, I'm here. Hey, Mike. Good to see you, brother. I doubt it. Yeah, I doubt it too. I'm honestly doubting it. And so what do? We have places that build these communities. I think there's a talk about like Tesla building a town in Texas. Well, that's great. Now you become an indentured servant, kind of like, in the 1850s, when people were living on these campuses, everything you earned went back into it, and you were indentured. And if you left, you lost everything. It's one thing that pisses me off is your credit isn't great. Oh, you want to buy something, pay more. Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And at some point, it's like, is there no forgiveness for some of that? Look, whatever happened, Charles, I'm sure if it was a mistake on your part, you've grown outside of it. If it was something that wasn't your fault, how do I get through this thing? Right? Bullshit. Mics have assembled. Hey, Mike, what's going on, brother? Already build giant corporate-owned neighborhoods around me that are lease-only properties. Exactly. So who makes all the tax credits? Who gets all of that shit? And who makes all the money? And you're basically, oh, but I don't own the property, and they're going to take care of it. Yeah, but you don't own anything at the end. You've got nothing tangible that you can use to kind of help you springboard into getting credit for something else, like being able to get better credit for maybe like getting your kids through college, or buying a car, or taking a vacation, or take your pick, right? There we go. Nick, Shar, Ricky. Oh, and Sam. Oh, excellent. It's okay. I'm here now. Excellent, Ray. Now it's a party. Mike and Mike. So excited to go back to the company store. Neo-feudalism. That's the term right there. Exactly, Mike. That's what we live in. You know? And this is why I've said this quite often. I'm fortunate because in some ways I'm the last generation that I think is going to be able to buy the home. It hurts, but I bought the home. To be able to go out and get a car, even though again it kind of hurts a little bit because savings have been a little tough. But being able to do all this stuff. Are my children going to have the same opportunity? And when then we hear from people that, you know what, there are people who are just in the basement and all they're doing is playing video games and living off corporate welfare and everything, or excuse me, our public welfare. I'm like, you know what? If you truly believe that, you are so misguided. People don't, there's a misconception of people want to game the system. People want to get things for free. And I got to tell you, I don't really meet many people like that. Thanks, BlackRock. Exactly. Credit is a huge fucking joke. Oh, you have a 750 late on a bill, 586 years of no mistakes, 585. Yeah. It's a scam. It really is, Nick. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's a scam. I haven't had any credit cards for so long. I don't have a credit score. Never mind a bad one. You probably do. You probably still do. Anytime I've had a medical thing come up that was military related and had to see a doctor, they never took care of the bill until 5 years after I got out. Spent 2 years fixing it. And they are like, congratulations, we fixed your credit score, went up by 3. Jesus Christ. My grandfather paid $3,000 for his house. Yeah, my parents paid $63,000. They paid $27,000 for their house. Maybe 21, somewhere in there. Yeah. This house here, I'll be honest, we paid $331,000 for it, which we paid at the high end. It took a $100,000 dive in 5 years. And now it's valued at almost $500,000. I'm like, who the fuck would pay $500,000 for this thing? I know I wouldn't. Gaming the system is a narrow design to erode confidence in social systems. Yeah, I totally agree. First of all, let's be honest. Do we truly know people? Do we truly know people who are like, all they want to do is game off the system, right? That's all they want to do. All they want to do is they don't want to work. All they want to do is just what I can get from something. They're not very successful at it. Number one, if they do that. And secondly, most people I know are like, just give me an opportunity, man. I'm just looking for a job that'll get me through to something. And if you give me a job and I can find something that's better, great. I'm totally in favor of all that. I looked up, I don't have one. I couldn't be on a mortgage, or it would have cost more. The mortgage company was honestly shocked. They've never seen someone without a credit score. That is really crazy, right? I'm not sure whether to congratulate you or to kind of sit there and just scratch my head. System gamers exist, but they are so small. And that's my point. But there's to your point, Dwayne, there's the narrative of there are people out there who are just like, they're just trying to scam the system. That's all they're doing. They're just scamming the system. I'm like, I don't know anybody like that. Most people I know are like, we want to work. You know, when my daughter was trying to get a job, she was like, I want a job. Now, does she sometimes sit very comfortably on the couch? And it's like, yeah, but it's like, but she's like, I know I need a job. And she finally got one, and she's been at it, and she's put her heart and soul into it and everything like that for a few dollars over minimum wage. Society has idle rich and idle poor. The rest of us on the bell curve carry the societal load. Yeah. You know, and funny, it's funny. It's dealing with a lot of very wealthy people. I got to tell you, it's the most frustrating thing to hear from people saying, you know, they need to go out there and work. I'm going to go to the country club later. So because of some good fortune on your part, and let's be honest, a lot of people who make a lot of money, yes, some of them work. I'm not saying that they don't, but there's a lot of it that just kind of you're kind of in a lucky place. You know, you've gotten there because of, for example, kids of some of these people, you know, we can call it what, nepo babies type of thing. Fortune of genes. You know, you marry into a family, lucky you. You know, I'm sick of being told that we need to take away human rights and human dignity. We need to take away paying people for taking care of their medical issues or helping them through college or helping them with their house or what have you, because there are bad people out there trying to gank them. We're going to take those people out. And we're going to eliminate this program because there's so much scam, waste, fraud, and abuse. If I hear that term again, I'm going to punch somebody. There's so much of that bullshit. I'll be back. Duty calls. Ooh, hopefully simple duty. Most middle management and above are nepo hours in some form. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. At least that's how I've seen it. Not always the case, but that's how I've seen it. But yeah. So I'm kind of in a place where I'm not a big fan of being told that we need to kill a program because there is so much waste, fraud, and abuse, but that waste, fraud, abuse is so infinitesimally small that we're going to gut a program because we don't like it. And we're going to save that money and give it back to the wealthy. You know, once again, you know, I'd feel a lot better if all politicians, but especially Republicans, would just come out and just say, look, we're fucking power hungry. We believe that we believe in trickle down economics, and we give it back to the wealthy, and they'll help us. Just be honest. People shouldn't. I don't believe that people should have universal health care coverage. I don't believe that people should have any kind of medical coverage. You know, you got to fend for yourself. That traditional puritanical approach. Be honest with Americans and just say, you got to fend for yourself. Sorry, this country is not here to kind of help you. Government is not here to help you. You can't help yourself, go fuck yourself. I'd be honest, because if you said that, then we'd know where you'd stand. But you do is you couch all that with, you know, we're taking only away from those people who don't deserve it and everybody else. We're only doing this because, you know, like because other places can, like states can administer programs better, but they can't afford it. Is a problem for private business, not government. Yeah, exactly. And in fact, as I keep hearing, I mean, fraud, if people have committed fraud, then they are to be criminally prosecuted. Has anybody heard of all of these organizations, people in these organizations? Has anybody heard of anybody being arrested for fraud? I mean, this is a legitimate question because maybe I've missed something in the news. Has anybody been, and what I mean by not just one person, anybody, any significant number of people, given them millions of dollars, billions of dollars we've slashed, has there been any group of people that have been prosecuted for fraud? No, because there wasn't any. It was all bullshit. That's my point. Remember, if you're claiming that it's waste, fraud, and abuse, fraud, is criminally prosecutable. 6 months, nothing. So once again, full circle, I am tired of being lied to. Do I think the left lies? 100%. Do I think the right lies even more? 200%. Okay. And the reason is this has nothing to do with left politics and right politics. This is purely about power. I would encourage people, I'm not saying read left-wing media. Read guys like Tom Nichols, okay? Read people who have been inside of the Christian nationalist movement, okay? And what you're going to find is that these people, not just ground news is good, but I'm talking about in-depth news, like actual in-depth coverage of stuff, okay? You know, and we talk about news, and I think that's good, but I'm talking about, does anybody read books on these things, on these subject matters? Read up on these subject matters, and what you'll, and I'm talking about by legitimate people. I'm not talking about fringe people. I'm talking about legitimate people who have been inside of, like I said, religious organizations, you know, pastors who have been in, who kind of like, this is what the world is about, or reading from people who are inside of the government, and this is what we've experienced inside, you know, and avoid any sources that tell you what the news means. Yes, exactly. I also don't trust anybody who says, let me tell you the truth. I think I mentioned this a while back on Blue Sky. I posted something on if anybody's ever read any of the Harry Turtledove, God, what do they call it? The Southern Victory series. Basically, the South wins the Civil War. Then there's a second Civil War, and then what happens in World War I and World War II. And there's again, I'll spoil it a little bit. There is an American Hitler, basically the guy in the Confederate South who becomes Hitler. And he always started every sentence he did on his radio station, but see, I'm here to tell the truth. And I remember that phrase always wigged me out. And then Trump came into power, and it's like, holy shit. That's what it felt like. Because they get it right as a pastor in Louisiana reading a Bible quote. Yeah. What the news means. So, anyway, let me take a sip of water. I think we do need to read more stuff on actual research material. You know, here's an example. You mentioned ground news, which I believe in. I also believe that there is a lot of legitimate reporting happening by some certain traditional media. First of all, I'm also not a big fan of all of the new media out there, the pro-democracy, anti-democracy. I don't give a shit. All of them saying, you know, traditional media is just they're dying and everything like that. They are to some degree, but they also go to them for resources. Traditional media can still do a lot of research. You know, companies like the New York Times, I think, is doing some good research work. There are other organizations that are doing good research work. They're doing legitimate news stuff. But what we're being told is that they're not legitimate. That, I think, is a disgrace. But in any case, look where people are actually posting stuff that is actual truth and that is based on some level of fact. Okay. Not just some level of opinion. And then if you're presented with facts, verify those facts. You know, just because somebody says they're facts doesn't always mean that they're facts. Particularly if they're coming from sources, it's like, what the hell organization is this? I've never heard of them. Martians. It's kind of like, if anybody remembers the old days, and I'm old enough to remember, like when the National Enquirer, you know, was doing like TV ads and TV spots, and you go through the aisle and you look at like the National Enquirer and what they're posting on. I'm like, these guys basically created an entire fucking industry on pseudo facts or false facts. And we're now living that. And It's becoming more of a distraction. It's more of a lie. People can't tell the difference because people don't want to tell the difference between the truth and the lies. And that's where we are. Alternative facts. Again, I just can't believe that term. I can't believe that term ever was, we're working from alternative facts, then they're not facts. But to wind this down, once again, I'm going to just start with saying I am excited to see what Zohan Mamdani is doing. I'm also going to do another big shout out. There is a young woman, 25 years old, running for Congress in Arizona, Deja Fox, 25-year-old woman, call her girl because she's young enough to be my daughter, 25-year-old woman who went through the entire post-truth world. We're so much in a post-truth world. Went through Section 8 housing, had a mother who had addiction problems. She had to stay with a lot of people. Good, didn't miss that evening. Nah, good. Good evening, Joe. What's going on, brother? I'm still on for about another 5 minutes or so. Anyway, for the last 10 years, she's lived the entire Trump world from the time she was 15. So she's now 25. So Trump has been part of her life, the majority of her life, really, her political life. And she became politically active because she's like, why are people trying to do harm to people who need help, right? In fact, one of her messages is, I'm young. I'm of the people who have been burned by a government that doesn't give a shit. And since I've lived through a lot of this BS, I'm one of the only people in Congress, because remember, a lot of these guys they made some money, right? She's like, I'm like living through this. I'm just trying to make it day by day. And my experience is not the experience that they're trying to sell, whether the left or the right. Anyway, if you guys ever want to look up somebody kind of like a young person who's running for, and first of all, we need more young people running for Congress. And I mean, people who aren't backed by like ridiculously wealthy people. I'm talking about ground people, coming and just getting local donations and just getting community support. We need more people like that rather than the big donor contributions, the Elon Musk, by the way, the America Party. So big donor contributions that are funding candidates, because we know what it's going to do. But yeah, it's going to destroy basically what little rights we have left, because that's what it comes down to. But go take a look at people like that. Go take a look at Deja Fox. I'm very excited. I think in the next couple of weeks we find out if she wins her primary. I'm kind of rooting for her. I don't know a couple of the other people. I know one of the people she's running is basically a Nepo baby. But it'd be nice to see somebody young and from the community, coming from a place where she struggled and has found some success. But her struggle is the struggle that she wants to talk about, because the people that are setting up these laws are the people who are not they're not part of what the problem is. They're not part of the issues that have been there, right? Hey, Jonah. I'm doing well. How are you doing? So anyway, I'm rambling a little bit here, guys. It's been a long day. I apologize, but let's do this. Not a couple minutes. I'm going to try to be more positive where possible. There's so much villainy right now, but I'm going to try. I think most times when I end these things, I try to talk a little bit about positive. I think, again, Mamdani is a positive. I think Deja Fox is a positive. That there are some things that are moving things forward that I think are going to be, we got to set up that round table. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Not politics oriented, model oriented. I'm very good working on the RG. I'm assuming high new and loving it. Happy to have found the live to put on. I'm only on for another couple of minutes, Joe, and I'm sorry. I usually do this 7 to 8 p.m. on Thursdays, Eastern time. But I'll hang on for a few more things. Small things talk on. Yeah. Generally, I'd like to focus it more. That will be more about talking about models than politics. I don't think anybody here wants to spend 2 hours kind of like talking politics. I no offense, I'm not geared up to do that. This is me vomiting my own frustrations. I think I'm well read. I don't consider myself professional enough to actually do like a roundtable on politics. But I do feel pretty confident that with the people that are here, we could certainly do a recorded session, a Zoom session of some sort, and either broadcast it or record it and post it, and talk about like topics like the one we started talking about this morning, right? 2 hours of rivet discussion. See, that would be fun. Rivets, good or bad on models? Yeah, autocorrect. No, well, that's fine. Happy to catch it regardless. Yeah, I'll be on for a few more minutes, Jonah, just because, I know that you and Joe just came in a little late, so what the hell? We'll hang on a little bit. I'm with Mike. Rivets! Ooh, rivet counting on tanks, of course. Don't put me in there. I'll just bring down the bar with dick and fart jokes. That's funny. Maybe, but it could be humorous to have you there. But yeah, that'll be something that'll happen. So that'll be a positive for the future. Riveting discussion about weathering pencils. Oh, yeah. Speaking of rivets. Conversation about rivets. And before I forget, because I think there are a couple people who are struggling with, yes, rivets. So real quickly, all I've done is a little bit of gray painting there on either side. And what I'm going to do right now is just hit it up with a little bit of white, just to give a little bit of a white cap to it. I might do even like a little bit of brown to kind of create a highlight edge. I don't know. I haven't decided that, but I'll probably do a little bit of white caps. But I'm really, once again, not going to lie, I'm very happy with this. And it will be presented tomorrow night at our Patriot meeting. Anyone tried those 3D rivet decals? Asking for a friend. Oh, asking for a friend? I have not. So my first P-Bandai. Really? I ordered the giant mega particle cannon. For the high new. I'm super pumped. That is a really cool model. I've got one of those in my stash to add to my high new at some point. I haven't, Peter. I've never done rivets before. Never. Rivets. I will say the one I'm actually at some point, I will make the investment. The RP Tools rivet tool, which is not fucking cheap. But I like the fact that you can make your own rivets of whatever size. I think it's kind of cool. You literally hammer. I think it's either hammer foil or like really thin pieces of plastic. Then you can make your own rivets. I love rivets. Then again, I still have a bunch of the wave rivets in the backlog. And sanding off most of the ones off the helicopter while trying to correct its fucked upness. That's a technical term. Actually, I think I even saw that in the dictionary a few days ago. Fuck upness. Peter, I've never tried them. Have you ever found any other rivets that you can use? And what size rivets do you need? Let me know. Did you finish the scope, dog? Who are you asking about that? I think if you're talking, who are you talking to, Joe, about the scope dog? I'm not sure. Is anybody here working on a scope dog? I thought that was Clinton, who's working on a strike dog. Judas Priest, you weren't kidding. That tool was expensive. Oh yeah, and it's not like it's one tool; it's multiple tools. So you're paying like, I don't know, $80 to $100 per set. Yeah. Okay. See you guys, Dwayne. Have a good one, brother. I'll reply to your. I know you texted me earlier today. I'll get back to you either later tonight or tomorrow morning. 1/32 scale rivet's pretty small. I'm gonna see if I can find a package of my waves, and I'll see if I can bring those in. Sounds good. See ya. Have a good one, Dwayne. Good to catch up with you, brother. Thanks for hanging with us. I like the Master Tools rivet tool, but not when I put it through my finger. I didn't realize Master Tools makes a rivet tool. Is it like literally like a set of different punches? I know that there's a $30 tool that Handren's talked about in the past. I built the Brutish dog with the rivets, the ones that literally you could just screw in. Have I finished it? Assembling, yes. Full finish, no. That one's going to be a bit of a project. In fact, you know what? I might actually start my scope dog. I'm kind of in the middle of a couple projects. You know, I could start something else if I really wanted to. Ooh, that's a possibility. I could do the last red shoulder. I think is it the last red shoulder one, or is it the scope dog custom? I can't remember which one it is now. Oh, okay, yeah. I started my scope dog, but paused it. Yeah. No, it's a bunch of different sizes, like some dome punches. Yeah. So it's okay. Yeah, the dome punch is different, but like an actual punch tool where you're punching through it and making literally little rivets. RP Tool is the only one I've seen, but I'm guessing there's probably some Chinese manufacturer that also has one of those, and I'll probably keep an eye on it. But at the same time, the RP Tools one, it's been around for a while. Martin Kovac uses it, and he loves it to death. I can't start anything else. The whole house of cards will come down. It'll all collapse. All right, my friends. I think it is time for me to call it a night. Go upstairs, hang out with my daughter, get some dinner going. Again, not always talking about politics, even though that is the core discussion. I've gotten my bile out. I've gotten I've unleashed what I needed to do for this week. Yeah, my OCD doesn't need that tool. I've looked at it a few times. Yeah, have a bunch of rivet punch tools, mostly around $30 a piece. Yeah, I've seen some of those too, but it's like to get the different like 0.1 millimeter scale on them. Ugh, that's the RP Tools ones. Have a great night. Jonah, you too. Thanks for popping in, brother. Always good to see you pop in. Later, Joe. Later, Nick. Guys, stay safe and stay sane. Thanks for being on this evening. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for letting me blurt out, and thank you for engaging. I really think it was a good overall conversation. Go out there and do good. Brighten the world as much as you possibly can. It's a crazy, fucked up planet, and it's up to us to try to make it better. And I mean that. Try to make it better. Think beyond the politics. Think towards, like kind of like what Charles was saying earlier, think towards how we can help our community and vote that way. Work that way. Anyway, guys, go do good out there. Brighten the world. Love you all. And I'll catch you tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock or next Thursday, 7 p.m. Enjoy, guys. Peace.